Thank you once again, Honourable Chairperson. And again, I repeat my greetings to all our distinguished guests. Well, as has been said, August is celebrated as Women's Month in South Africa. It is a time for us to honour and highlight the enormous courage and contribution of women to the struggle against apartheid, and to acknowledge their self-sacrifice, commitment, and high political ideals. This is a tribute to a life well lived, dedicated to Mme Gertrude Shope. I believe that there is much to celebrate in South Africa's progress with the difficult challenges of gender equality. I say this because I always quarrel with those of us who speak of women as not making any advances, certainly in our democracy, but in many, many countries throughout the African continent. We have seen in South Africa changes in access to education, access to political office, access to non-traditional careers, and access to many new fields of enterprise. All of these are evidenced by strides women have achieved. They all are a result of the principles and values that have defined the life of Mme Shope. I always recall how Mme Shope and other heroines such as herself would look at us, the younger generation in Parliament, and would have a beaming pride in their eyes as they seemed to say to themselves, well, girls, we've done the job for you. We're happy to see you here. Continue the tradition. The name of Gertrude Shope belongs to a rare breed of women whose impact on the political progress of our country is yet to be fully written and appreciated. This is a leader who has pursued the vision of freedom set out by her political movement, the African National Congress, and her country, South Africa, with great distinction, to such a degree that when you hear her narrative, it's almost like a myth. Her political activism within the historical agency of the African National Congress emanated from shared values and objectives with her political formation, not just about what was wrong in the society into which she was born, but also her certainty about how to correct such wrongs through re-envisioning a united, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and just society. Imagine that it is women coming out of the harshest conditions who would, as Mme Shope did, articulate such amazingly modern and high ideals. Mme Shope fully deserves the tribute we present to her today. We know her as a humble yet firm leader who has been fearless in pursuit of justice for the vulnerable and for equality for women and girls. Last week, hundreds, thousands of South Africans paid tribute to her on the occasion of her 95th birthday. We were really pleased that women, young and old, men, young and old, shared their appreciation for her indelible contribution to South Africa and the world. She has a self-effacing modesty, which marks a resolute spirit to get things done. She looks very gentle, but if she gives you that look, you know that you are in trouble. She has a spirit that has defied the odds, that has sustained her fight for liberation, and that has animated her contribution to the blossoming freedom and democracy that flourished after April 1994. We call her a warrior against gender oppression, a warrior against racial oppression. You might think that those who fought the racist government of apartheid would be racist themselves. Oh no, they upheld non-racialism and believe in it even today. She's also a warrior against the oppression of workers. She has lived a life in the service of all, one which believes in the rights of all to enjoy humanity and justice. During all her life, she has not been a lazy person. She has executed these challenging roles with exemplary fortitude and really quite a rare commitment. You know, it's easy today to become a leader. But in the times in which Mme Shope and others like her began their role in the struggle, it was not easy. You could not just go to the front of the line and be considered a leader. You had to have amazing commitment and fortitude. She has a very perceptive mind. She developed a sharpened grasp of the multidimensional nature of oppression and was, I think, astute at dissecting the underlying link between racial, gender, and class oppression that has shaped South Africa's history, that has defined our notion of being human, and that has bequeathed to us a legacy that continues to harm even our own post-apartheid political imaginary. So what she has given to us is a sense of what could be the ideal and the energy to pursue it, while also allowing us to recognize that pursuit of that ideal is complex because of so many socio-economic phenomena that challenge us in achieving this ideal. Mme Shope has always, within her struggle, refused to easily concede ground when one needs to stand upright. She has known that gender is a social construct, that it affects all women, whatever their color or class, and that it has been maintained by legitimizing mythology, which merely sought to advance patriarchal interests. Given this understanding in her political and social life, she's among the pioneers who have fought against the socio-political practice of gender inequality, but also held forth the possibility and desirability of gender equality as a definition of the very idea of freedom. She therefore led in resolving the breakdown of the invidious social mold that sought to define women as perpetual underlings. Her participation and role in the liberation struggle has been shaped by this macro understanding of the historical architecture of South Africa's specific form of oppression. I think there are few women today, or men, who have served the noble cause of liberation of humankind for more than 60-odd years, with such impeccable dedication, both within and outside their country of birth, without ever putting a single foot wrong. She will disagree and say she did put a foot wrong here and there, but we have not seen those missteps. She has continued to be an avid exponent of the gender agenda and of workers' rights during her work in exile, in which time she lived all over the world, including living in Prague, living in Botswana, Tanzania, Zambia, and Nigeria. Her impulses for the equality of all women have taken her all over the world, including to attending the Nairobi Women's Meeting at which she led the ANC delegation. She has worked for many organizations, including the World Federation of Trade Unions, thus allowing her to develop an acute international perspective of the exploitation of workers. She is a product of this turbulent history, and thus has emerged from it a well-rounded revolutionary. You know, you have those half-cut revolutionaries. She's a well-rounded one, who would continue to enrich the human experience after the breakthrough, the watershed of April 1994. She served as a parliamentarian and has served in that role our democratic government with honor, and continued to champion the cause of gender equality by heading up the African National Congress Women's League between 1991 to 1993. And today, even as she is in retirement, we all know that Mme Shope exudes an air of majesty and dignity as a sage of the age, belonging to the illustrious galaxy of revolutionaries that include Dr. Charlotte Maxeke, Ruth First, Fatima Meer, Helen Joseph, Sophie de Bruyn, Ruth Mompati, Lillian Ngoyi, and hundreds more. And again, in those names, you see that mix of understanding that gender equality is not an ethnic or racial phenomenon, it includes all of us. As I conclude this tribute, let me say to you, Mme Shope, thank you for all that you have been, that you have done, and that you have said for the oppressed people of the world, be they workers, be they black people, be they rural people, be they women. In this Women's Month, we thank you as women for insisting on our visibility on the agenda of history. I believe every celebration of Women's Month is a celebration of you and your splendid generation. I believe when the definitive history of the nobility of the struggle against the oppression of humanity by another is finally placed on paper, your name, Gertrude Naledi Shope, will enjoy pride of place in that narrative. And I'm sure all my colleagues would agree as we say, long live the name of Gertrude Shope, long live. Thank you very much, Program Director.